Meeting the love of one's life, eloping, and tying the knot is a common dream for many teenage girls, and Caroline Crouch was no exception. At just 15, this high school student found herself captivated by a wealthy 27-year-old pilot who would fly his helicopter over her school. Capturing her heart, the couple eloped and got married. However, what initially appeared to be a perfect love story would soon devolve into a murder that left the world in shock. In the early hours of May 11, 2021, at 4:30 a.m., Babis Anagnostopoulos, known as Babis, was violently disturbed from his sleep. He was staying in a 2-story maisonette in Glyka, on the outskirts of Athens, Greece. Before he could defend himself, he was ambushed by 3 hooded men armed with pistols. They quickly subdued him, binding his wrists and blindfolding him with duct tape, before turning their attention to his wife, 19-year-old Caroline Krunchka. Their 11-month-old daughter, sleeping nearby, awakened to the commotion. The assailants, who spoke with Greek and Albanian accents, demanded to know where the money was hidden. Unbeknownst to Caroline, the situation would soon lead to her own tragic demise. Caroline Crouch was born on July 12, 2001, in Athens, to David Crouch, a retired engineer, and Susan Della Costa. At 8, her family moved to the island of Eloped, enchanted by its coastal beauty. Embracing this beach life, Caroline took to scuba diving and swimming. She met Babis during a Good Friday parade in 2017 while he worked as a helicopter pilot, and at just 15 years of age, their romance blossomed. On July 15, 2019, 3 years later, the two wed in Portugal. Just days before her murder, they had invested in a plot of land, with dreams of building a home for themselves and their daughter. Supported by a generous euros 50,000 from her parents and euros 10,000 they had discreetly saved. In Greece, where banks were often viewed with skepticism, many chose to keep cash at home, a belief Caroline likely shared. Trapped in a harrowing moment, both Babis and Caroline were gripped by fear as the intruders pressed for answers about their money. In a desperate bid to end the terror, Babis revealed an unconventional hiding spot, leading them to a monopoly box containing their savings. Yet, the men continued rummaging through their home, seizing jewelry and other valuables. In a desperate appeal for their lives, Babis and Caroline pleaded, but Babis could only hear Caroline's terrified screams as the assailants threatened their child. While he strained against his bindings, the rope tightening painfully made him lose consciousness before he eventually woke up again. It was then he realized the intruders had left, leaving only the cries of their daughter in the aftermath. Around half an hour later, Babis managed to use his nose to call emergency services. When the operator asked him for details, all he could manage to say was that robbers were present. By 6 a.m., first responders arrived, only to be met with a scene of utter devastation. The maisonette lay dismantled, belongings strewn everywhere, with an open monopoly box revealing the missing money. Disturbingly, they discovered a security camera on the floor, having been forcefully removed. Tragically, a husky puppy, Roxy, hung lifelessly from a leash. Babis was found bound on the bedroom floor, while Caroline lay face down on the bed. Their baby daughter, clearly distressed, was desperately trying to wake her mother. It was confirmed that Caroline had been murdered, and Babis was left shattered upon seeing her lifeless body. The investigation quickly revealed evidence suggesting multiple intruders. The police determined that 3 men had entered the home while a 4th stood guard. Their reconstruction of the events depicted a premeditated attack. They had approached the house via a rear pathway, forced entry through a basement window, and tragically killed Roxy before assaulting Babis and Caroline while they slept. They then had stolen money and valuables before smothering Caroline with a pillow. Babis' recurring losses of consciousness led the intruders to mistakenly believe he had died. While Caroline's death was confirmed as violent, the investigation turned complicated with no concrete evidence left behind. The robbers made off with euros 10,000 in cash and an estimated euros 20,000 in jewels. Analysts deduced this was an operation by seasoned criminals, following the couple's routines closely. Speculations about the motives for the brutal violence against Caroline began to circulate, questioning why murder was necessary if theft was the goal. Some suggested the assailants were under the influence of drugs, while others indicated that Caroline may have recognized them, compelling the intruders to silence her. Investigators believed the attack was well planned, as they were aware of the cash hidden in the house, prompting interviews with Caroline's close contacts and a search for surveillance footage nearby. Caroline was laid to rest 3 days post-murder on Alanissos, her childhood home. During a memorial service, a suspect was eventually identified, leading authorities to connect him to previous crimes in the area. However, despite being interrogated intensively, he was cleared of wrongdoing, forcing investigators to shift their focus to a local Albanian crime syndicate. The investigation unfolded slowly, frustrating the public who were growing increasingly anxious amidst a rise in violence. Despite offers of reward money, no one stepped forward with information. Babis continued to engage with the media in an effort to keep the case alive until new leads materialized. On June 17, 37 days after the tragedy, detectives requested Babis' presence in Athens based on new information. During their discussions, inconsistencies started to emerge in Baba's account of events that night. For instance, claims of how the criminals broke in were contradicted by physical evidence. More perplexingly, no disturbances were reported by neighbors, questioning the narrative of chaos painted by Babis. Eventually, it was revealed that Caroline had been contemplating leaving Babis. Text records illustrated escalating arguments at home prior to her demise. After being presented with mounting evidence, Babis found himself under scrutiny. An 8-hour interrogation ultimately broke his resolve, leading to a convoluted confession where he attempted to justify his actions. He admitted to killing Caroline in a rage, having staged the entire incident, and even included their innocent daughter in his lie. Ultimately, Babis was charged and found guilty not only of premeditated murder, but also for obstructing justice, providing false information, and committing animal abuse. This case would later be known as the murder that fooled the world. Unfortunately, it would leave an indelible mark not only on those directly